All right, well, it is 6 o'clock. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call us to order in accordance with South Carolina Code of Laws 1985, Section 30-4-80-E. The following have been notified of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting: the Herald, the Charlotte Observer, CN2, and WRHI. If I could, please ask you all to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, you have all received a copy of the agenda. Were there any adjustments or corrections?
No, ma'am.
That will stand as approved with unanimous consent. I don't believe I received any cards for public participation, so we will jump straight into staff reports. The first one being discussion about teacher recruitment and retention. Ms. Romanet, there she is.
Good evening.
Hi.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to update you on our recruiting efforts. When I started thinking about what I wanted to share with you tonight, I thought, well, I could walk through our strategic plan, I could share an end of the season update, I could give you numbers, I can talk about the events I went to, applications, and our hires. But then I started thinking about how this work has really grown over the past 2 years. That first year was honestly a lot of action research. For me, I spent time at career fairs talking with students, not just about Fort Mill, but what they're looking for in a school, in a district, in their new job. I talked with recruiters, I built relationships with not only college professors, but the career centers, and I volunteered at universities doing some resume blitzes and mock interviews. And I listened. I listened to what future educators were telling us and what matters to them, and what they were looking for in a school district, but more importantly, why they would pick one district over another. And somewhere along the way, I realized what I was learning was changing the way I was really thinking about recruiting. So instead of giving you an update tonight, I wanted to tell you a little bit about what I experience. I want you to kind of understand what it looks like, why I do it, and how I do it. So tonight I want to share with you a story. I was a kindergarten teacher, so I'm all about a little story. It's a story about people. It's about relationships, and it's about the relationships we're building to bring those people back here to Fort Mill. Oh, where's the clicker? Oh, big button, Joe, right? All right. But while I was listening and learning that first year, there was another reality I couldn't ignore. It was the numbers. When you look at what happens across South Carolina, we simply aren't producing enough teachers to replace the number of teachers leaving the classroom. And when I look at this slide, this is the number that stays with me. For every new teacher entering the profession, nearly 3 teachers are leaving the classroom. So quickly I realized that we couldn't recruit the way we always recruited. We needed to do something different. We needed to find them. We needed to locate them. We needed to know what they were looking for. And I had to go find them. So that's what I did. The competition has changed, and that brings me to this map. We don't recruit nationally because I enjoy to travel. We recruit nationally because that's where the teachers are. But one of the things I learned along the way is not about where we're going, it's about who we bring with us. And I actually have a great example of that tonight. Terry Gaither, right over here, is a 6th grade teacher at Pleasant Knoll Middle School. She is an Ohio native. I took her there to recruit with me as a guest recruiter. I loved having her there for so many reasons, but the reasons that she could connect most with them was because she was from there. She could simply say to them, I'm from Ohio. I made that move to Fort Mill. Let me tell you what brought me there, and let me tell you why I built my career here. That's pretty powerful. So now when I'm planning our recruiting travel, I'm also thinking about our own people. Who went to school there? Who grew up there? Who moved there from that, who moved here from that area? Who can help me tell that Fort Mill story in an authentic and a personal way. Because candidates just don't want to hear from me, the recruiter. They want to hear from someone who's been in their shoes. That's another way we're turning recruiting trips into relationships. Recruitment has changed. Oh, God bless you. And remember when I told you I spent that first year listening? That's what I learned. They were asking different questions. Will I belong here? Will someone invest in me? Will I have an opportunity to grow? Will I have a mentor? What does that community look like? They're looking for purpose, belonging, growth, mentorship, and community. And as I listened over and over again, I kept saying to myself, that's Fort Mill. I'm like, that's what we have here. So we already have all those things, but it's my job to have them experience those things. And that's really where Teach Fort Mill started, to become so much more than just a marketing tool or a recruiting logo. It's the story we're telling about who we are. When someone sees a Teach Fort Mill post, gets an email from me, meets us at a career fair, comes to our tours, interviews with one of our principals, becomes a student teacher in our classroom, I want them to experience that consistency that we have. I want them to start understanding what rooted in family, together we grow really means. Because Teach Fort Mill isn't just a marketing campaign, it's a promise. And if we're gonna make that promise during our recruitment time, we also have to deliver it when they become one of ours. And rather than me just telling you what that experience feels like as a candidate, I wanted you to hear from someone who actually experienced it. Tonight, joining us is Kate Barrier, a first-year teacher at Doby's Bridge Elementary School that's teaching Fort Mill. Kate, I'm gonna let you share your story.
Hello, my name is Kate Barrier, and I just began my first year of teaching as a 4th grade teacher at Doby's Bridge Elementary. My first few weeks of teaching have been marked by an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the opportunity to work for such an incredible school in the district that fostered my love for learning. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, and I owe a great deal of being here to Ms. Romanik's efforts through Teach Fort Mill. To be transparent, for most of my college career, I wanted to teach in the upstate. I interned at one of the best school districts in the state and began the recruitment process. However, throughout the process, I felt like just another face and lacked a sense of belonging. In the spring of my senior year, before beginning a year-long master's program, I met Ms. Romanik at a career fair and was immediately impressed by her personability and clear love for the district. After sending a follow-up email, we set up a time to meet for coffee. At coffee, Ms. Romanik asked me more about myself and where I envisioned beginning my career. This past November, Mrs. Romanik made the trip to Greenville to observe a lesson at my internship. She then created a write-up highlighting areas of strength and areas to grow. Before spending the day touring 6 elementary schools with Ms. Romanik in December, she sent each principal a copy of my resume and an observation write-up. After the tour, my wheels started to turn. If I already felt this supported and valued as a teacher candidate, how much more supported and valued would I feel as a Fort Mill School District employee? Due to Ms. Romanik's unwavering support and consistency, I decided that Fort Mill is where I wanted to begin my career. In May, I was able to interview for my dream grade at my dream school, in which my 4th grade teacher is now my principal. I landed the job and very quickly received an email from Ms. Romanik stating, "Do you have big news for me?" As I close in on my first month of teaching, I am so grateful that I chose Fort Mill. My hope is that as Teach Fort Mill continues to thrive, more ambitious new educators like myself will choose Fort Mill as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. I think Kate just explained to you better than I could ever do. What you just heard didn't just happen because of one recruiting trip. Kate and I met at a career fair, and that's what the beginning of our friendship and our relationship kind of grew from. It was the follow-up, it was coffee, it was staying connected, it was traveling to Greenville to watch her teach and providing her a Grow and Glow report. It was sharing her resume and observational feedback with our principals before she came to visit. It was spending a day touring 6 elementary schools and giving her an opportunity to meet our people and experience our schools. I want to get into that a little bit too. Our principals, what they do when I come in, to me, is incredible. They open their door, they stop what they're doing, they invite us to PLCs. I was at Sugar Creek and they were doing a training. We were invited to sit in there. To me, that just shows that they can really see the value in what we do. Michelle Greitz and Bridget are here, and I think they can speak on my behalf of kind of what that looks like when I come in, but they have been just so supportive, and Matthew Johnson's here as well. So many people are here to just open their doors, and for people to see an authentic, real day in Fort Mill, and to me, that means a lot. Let me get back. It was, to me, every interaction that Kate and I had, whether that was a handshake, a Google Meet, a coffee chat, it built on the next. And that's really what Fort Mill Recruit by Design means to me. I don't want someone's first real experience to be when they're walking through the door for an interview. I want us building a relationship long before that. Because what I hope happens somewhere, what I hope happens somewhere along the line in the journey is that they get to experience what Kate has experienced. A candidate goes from knowing about Fort Mill to experiencing Fort Mill to seeing themselves in Fort Mill and then choosing Fort Mill. And Kate said something that really gets to the heart of the matter. And I'm going to quote this. If I already feel this supported and valued as a candidate, how much more supported and valued will I feel as an employee? That's exactly what we want our candidates to feel. That's recruitment by design. Every touch point has a purpose, and every touch point gives another opportunity for us to build a relationship with our candidates. Now, Kate is just one story, and we're working on that to we're working on this to create more of a standing, it's going to happen every time, intentional touch point throughout our entire recruitment strategy. This past year, it meant 83 recruiting trips and 134 handshake campaigns. And while I'm proud of those numbers, I don't want you to measure this work by how many recruiting fairs I've gone to or how many handshake campaigns I sent. The question is this working? And relationships, I believe, produce results. And looking at these numbers, we had 179 new certified teachers hired this year. That's 90, out of that, 91 of them were recruited from universities that we targeted. That's a 51% turnaround. To me, that's pretty good. Because now we're beginning to see the connection between those conversations, those campus visits, and those follow-up tours, those follow-ups and those tours, and really, it's proof of the relationships that we've built. And now the question becomes, how do we make this pipeline even stronger? And this may be my most exciting part of this whole thing for me. Because we're not just talking about building a pipeline, we are already doing this. We know recruitment can't start when they become a senior in college. It has to start much earlier. Some of our future teachers are sitting in middle school and high school classrooms right now. That's why I partner with Katie McFadden and Susan Brackett, love those ladies, to intentionally get out into our middle and high schools and classrooms and start talking about really what it's like to be an educator and have those conversations with our students in a non-threatening environment. We're introducing education as a career in middle school. We're connecting with students through our high school teacher cadet and our intro to teaching programs. And when our students graduate and choose education as a pathway, I'm staying connected with them while they're in college. We're checking in with them, we're continuing to build that relationship, and when the time comes, we're creating opportunities for them to return to Fort Mill for either their field experience, student teaching, or classroom observations. And ultimately, we want them to come back home and be with us. And that's why I love this pipeline. We're not waiting and hoping that in 4 years they're coming back to us. We're staying connected with them along the way, from middle school to high school to student teaching and ultimately to when they're in a classroom. We're intentionally growing our next generation of teachers. Ooh. And that's exactly why I created Rooted in Fort, like that, Rooted in Fort Mill. That's Jenny Overman, so creative. And that's exactly why I created the Rooted in Fort Mill Intern Development and Engagement Program. I don't want our student interns to come in to our buildings, complete their required hours, and leave without someone really, really knowing who they are. I want to know them. I want to know what they're hoping to teach. I want to know where they want to grow. I want to help them with their resume and help them prepare for an interview. And I want to celebrate when they graduate. Through Rooted in Fort Mill, we're intentionally building those relationships through classroom visits, glow and grow observations, resume reviews, mock interviews, career coaching, and celebrations. Because if we have talented future educators in our buildings, why aren't we capitalizing it early on? We have an opportunity to invest in them now, help them grow, and I really get to know them as future educators. So when they're ready to start looking for that teaching job, I want Fort Mill to be already part of their story. And our partners strengthen recruitment. And once again, this work is all about relationships and partnerships. Like I said before, I partner closely with Katie and Susan to connect our schools with businesses and community partners, and those relationships have become, to me, an important part of the recruitment. When I'm talking with a candidate about Fort Mill, I'm just not selling our Fort Mill schools. I'm selling Fort Mill. I'm showing them a community that could be part of their story. I'm telling them that our community not only supports our teachers, but it supports our schools and our educators all across. Our university partners help us grow our future teachers. Our community partners help us sell our Fort Mill story. And together, we're giving our candidates another reason to choose Fort Mill. Funding matters. And that brings me to something very important. All of this takes an investment. When you see a travel expense, a career fair, I don't want you to see a plane ticket, a mileage for the car, or a registration fee. I want you to see the candidate I met, the professor who now emails me and tells me about a great student, the University Career Center that knows Fort Mill's name, the student who came here for a tour, the intern that came back for an interview, and the teacher who ultimately chose us. That's what we're investing in. We're not supplying travel funds. We're not funding access. We're not funding relationships. We're funding relationships. We're funding our pipeline, and ultimately, we're funding tomorrow's teachers. Recruiting never ends, trust me. And when you have put all of this that we've talked about tonight together, that's what we're building. Recruitment doesn't have a beginning and an end anymore. Today's students become tomorrow's interns. Today's interns become tomorrow's teachers. The teachers become mentors, and eventually that mentor could be standing next to me at a career fair saying, hey, let me tell you why I chose Fort Mill. In fact, you saw that in my story about Terry tonight. Terry came to Fort Mill from Ohio, built her career, and then went back to Ohio with me to help recruit the next educator for Fort Mill. That's the cycle. Our people become some of our greatest recruiters. Terry didn't think she was good at it, but I will tell you, you're good, Terry. You got a future in recruiting. And then the whole thing starts all over again. And that's what a sustainable teacher pipeline looks like. So when I started this presentation, I was thinking about, I wanted to give you a recruitment update. But recruitment is so much more than just numbers on a report. It's the people, it's conversations, it's showing up, it's following up, and most importantly, it's relationships. And when I think about this work, I see our 4 C's in action. It's culture, helping candidates experience who we are and what Fort Mill's about. It's collaboration, our principals, teachers, mentors, university, community partners, and our own students all working together to grow our future. It's community engagement, connecting future educators not only to our schools, but to our community where they might call home one day. And it's continuous improvement. Listening, looking at our data, learning what's working, adjusting our strategy, and growing continually. Every outstanding teacher starts with someone looking for a place where they can make a difference. I want that place to be Fort Mill. So when we invest in recruitment, we're doing so much more than filling today's vacancies. We're growing our own, we're building our pipeline, and we're investing in people who carry our 4Cs forward to the next generation. And while Mr. Young may remind us that rooted in family, together we grow, I may have my own little recruitment spin on this. I say we're recruited in relationships and together we grow. Don't worry, I'm not going to change our tagline. I just recruit by it. Thank you so much. Questions?
I got some stuff.
Yes.
Phenomenal, right? Like everybody can see how great that was. But you know, it's we have wonderful people in the district who work all across the district, but there is something really, really special whenever you get the person in the right seat on the bus. Just like that, specifically that spot is for them, and that's what we found with you in this role. I mean, this is fantastic because, like, if you want to break it down to its lowest word, like this is sales, right? Like we're trying to recruit. But
I call it marketing.
yeah.
We're communications and marketing now.
But it's not. But it doesn't feel like sales
No.
because you're passionate about the product.
I love Fort Mill. I have been here for a long time. My children were very successful coming through here. I've lived recruiting on the sports side. I think there's a couple of principals in here who have gone through that as well with their children. It's a business.
Yeah.
And it's not a nice business at times. At times it can be great and very rewarding, but it's not a great business. This shouldn't be anything like that. And that's when I really started listening and taking the time. I didn't just jump into career fairs and going to places. It was more of me listening to what other recruiters were saying. And I have met with other recruiters that are in the private industry. And when I tell them what I do, they're like, so who else is working with you? I said, no, it's me. And I'm like, but I love it. I absolutely love it. So yes, I do. I'm very passionate about it.
So that comes off, and when it's a passion, it doesn't really feel like work, right? Like you enjoy
Not a day.
this.
Yeah.
This is fantastic, and I want to say I love that you brought along a product of Fort Mill recruiting. This teacher is fantastic. What was her name?
Kate Barrier.
Oh yes, wonderful job, by the way, because what that gives you is a testimonial. You know, you have a testimony of what working with you and working with the Fort Mill School Districts is like, and that paints a picture for people. And I mean, I just have I can just see these teachers going home at night, truly just like you're the one that stands out. Like Fort Mill School District is the one that stands out when they're laying their head on their pillow at night. They're remembering
That's the hope.
what you said because of the passion that you have. And now also, it's so important to guard what we have as well. So I noticed one of your points was all about qualifying, the right qualified candidates. Because I mean, I work in in professional. I work in an industry where I'm very passionate about what I do too, but I have to make sure I'm working with a qualified candidate. They can like it all they want, but if they're not qualified to do it, it doesn't really matter. They're not qualified. And so what I see with you is you're looking for those qualifications and even those little intangibles that makes Fort Mill different, and you're hitting the nail on the head. So I love everything you said. Wonderful job. This is how we truly just continue to make this a fantastic district by just putting this cycle in here. Great job.
Mr. Young challenged us all for excellence, and that's what I'm striving for. I will tell you, being a principal, you're interviewing. You try that 30 minutes. You bring them back for another interview, but you don't really. You try your best and think right? I mean, principals, would you agree? You got 30 minutes, 45 minutes, then you bring them back maybe for another 30. I have spent more time with some of these individuals than our principals have when they're interviewing them. So for me, I feel like I'm trying to help principals out. They're so busy that this is just another piece that the district office is supplying them to try to help them be the best they can be as well.
I have,
Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Great job.
Thank you.
I'll start off by saying number one, The Bodie family is very appreciative of the impact you had on our daughter and Mrs. Young and Mr. Griffin. So we're very thankful for that. Addison thinks the world of you. So, number two, a couple years ago, I started mentioning this to Dr. Epps and to Mr. Young, the impact that's been made through LinkedIn, which my first reaction was back in the day was, wow, we are really and truly utilizing the appropriate sources and tools to figure out how to be successful. So I commend you on that. It's obvious a program that's a foundation that's been created and you continue to build on it. I do have a couple questions, and I'll ask this one, I'll pass over to Christy, but the question I have for you is, so you mentioned that recruitment has changed and candidates are seeking purpose, belonging, growth, mentorship, and community. Which of those factors do we do best today, and which one represents our greatest opportunity for improvement?
It's a great question. I think belonging is our best. I know that our principals work really hard to build a culture in their building of belongingness, about feeling included, about feeling accepted, about people having a seat at the table. So I think belongingness would be the best. What I'm working on more now, to be honest with you, is our community involvement and our community partnerships. And that's why this, what was it, April we met, ladies? April? We sat down, April, the three of us, and we're like, okay, we are working so hard on this community partnership, but we're working in silos. And these ladies have contacts that are unbelievable. And now we have created a school days cafe. It's a menu that we put out to business partners that talks about what we could offer here. Had we not, I'd be working in silos. So the work that I'm doing with them, I think we've just begun. I think there's so much more we can do, and I can't thank them enough for just being there for me. Every email that goes out between the three of us now that has to do with the community, we are all included on it, and we talk about what each of us does here at the district. To me, that's powerful, but we just begun. So I would say the community.
Gotcha, okay.
I'm just curious about a couple facts that
Yep.
I'm not sure of. On one of the slides when you talked about the different places that you go,
Yes.
are those other states, I mean, obviously, North and South Carolina makes completely sense, but have you selected or can you select places where there are higher density of candidates?
Yeah.
And where there's a lot of educational students in some of their universities?
Yes. If you guys remember my the presentation the Nation Ford High School marketing team did a couple of months ago. Emma, when was that? December.
Okay.
Emma C says interning with me. Thank God she's helping me. So they gave a presentation on it, and so what we did was we really targeted those states that have a significant number. But not only that, we looked at who has been coming to Fort Mill School District to teach as well, and we kind of targeted in that area as well. I will tell you, I need to do a better job with that. I'm going to be transparent. It is hard to track. Mr. Olinger and I have tried. We're really working hard on that. That's something that we'll continue to work on. Something that I'm focusing on this year is really we have 54 high school graduates that are continuing education careers, education as a career. I have looked at all their schools, all but 4 I've already gone to.
Okay.
So that makes me feel good. But the 4 that we haven't gone to thus far, I will be hitting this year. Emma and I worked on our marketing campaign. We do through Handshake. Are you all familiar with Handshake? Okay, Handshake. So we do marketing campaigns with them a lot. I think we did 91,000 last year. So this year we started off and we just hit those schools that either I have been to or our students are going to, welcoming them back to school if they're freshmen, telling them this is their first grade experience. Sophomores and juniors, it was a different kind of message, and then our seniors, it was you made the home stretch, you got this. And we do that several times a year, as well as soon as we're going to any of those schools, I send an email telling them, hey, come see me at the recruiting fair. I have found that to be pretty awesome because Our students, it's awkward. Have you been to a career fair? It's awkward. It's very, very strange. They don't know, should they come to the table? Should they not come to the table? So I send emails introducing myself, telling them a little bit about us and say, come see me. I have a little swag gift for you. It brings them over, but the conversations are so rich because they don't have to figure out how to talk to me. They have that opening of, hey, I got your email, right? That's you? And I'm like, yes. Does that make sense?
It does.
Does that cover your answer?
Yeah, like I said, because I know that South Carolina can't meet all the needs.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we're targeting the places that have the greatest opportunity to meet the needs. And I
Yes.
definitely recognize that some of those states seem to be high influx. in
Yeah,
our
and they
area,
just,
so that makes
a lot of
sense.
the schools up there also, for some reason, and I haven't figured it out yet, and Terry, you and I talked about this, they're keeping their students in those programs. I'm finding that some of the colleges, while our universities are reporting that the numbers are increasing for educational majors, by the time they get to senior year, that's not the number that they started with. So those schools, those Ohio schools, the Tennessee schools, they seem to be keeping them
Okay.
throughout those 4 years. They're sticking with being an educator and using that as their career.
Well, that actually leads to my next question, because when I was in college,
Mm-hmm.
I know there was I'm going to call it a scholarship. It was probably a grant
Mm-hmm.
of some sort that if you agreed to teach for X number of years, it would pay back student loans
Yes.
and things like that. I don't know if South Carolina still has
We do.
that.
Yep, absolutely. My daughter's actually using it for her
And
master's
if there are
degree.
other,
Yes.
I don't know that students would qualify if they came to South Carolina, if they.
It's
did that
staying in your
another-
state usually is how it works, and you
Okay.
have to do it anywhere from 3 to 5 years, depending on what their requirements are to stay in state in an at-risk or high-need school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then last, an observation. I mean, I think the relationship and the belonging and the feeling like when you get here, you already know that you're going to be successful here, I suspect, I hope, will help with, we've talked over the years about the first couple of years is when attrition seems to be higher because they didn't know what they were getting into or were surprised by expectations or something like that. And so I'm hopeful that having that deeper understanding of our district and all that will make
Yes.
that
I think
retention
that,
higher.
I also think, Mr. Olinger, the Office of Educator Effectiveness, we're doing a phenomenal job with our induction, and even our second-year teachers, our mentors are working more with not just first-year teachers, with second-year teachers. If we get them and keep them after that second year, we're pretty good. And I feel like we've done a really good job with that, don't you think?
Awesome.
I'd like
Okay.
to comment, sorry. I'd like to comment in my day job. I am a hiring manager, and in that, I will say, first of all, I wish, and I'll have to work with recruiters that we have with the company, and I wish I got to work with someone that had the passion and energy and supplied me better. More of the pre-work, because, yeah, it's hard to go through all that. It takes a lot of time. And I will echo that what you're saying here, these things, purpose, belonging, growth, mentorship, and community, it's not just within schools.
Yeah.
It's in
I think it's
general.
generational.
It's generational,
Mhm.
right.
I'll echo everybody's comments about how amazing the presentation was. I think from a strategic plan standpoint, this is such a critical area of what we focus on, right? So to have this type of dedication and somebody in the position that's with your enthusiasm and energy, I think is just an amazing, what kind of you said, we got the right person in the right position. My question is about critical needs areas. And how does your approach change or differ when we know that we have critical needs areas that maybe we have openings or positions that are coming up, special ed, things like that? How does that change your approach, if it does at all?
It's tough. It is. And I was at SC Teacher this year with LaToya, and they were talking about middle school is really going to be our big critical needs area soon. I'm looking at those schools, those programs that they have in those schools, and really looking at their numbers. If their numbers are low and it's out of state, chances are we aren't going to get them. I think when we had rural recruitment retention funds, We were able to provide stipends for those as well. That was a recruiting tool for me. Hey, if you sign on, you're going to get a stipend as well. When I'm thinking about going for those areas where it's hard to fill, it really gets down to knowing the university and knowing what they can supply to me. Citadel is a great example. Calmada Classroom. We talk about they have a huge secondary program there. I'm really concentrating on them the next couple of years with the knowledge that we have from SC Teachers data. I also think we need our people to come to and explain. I can explain only so much what a special. Okay. I would love, it's so hard to pull a special education teacher out of a classroom, right? But if I can get some to come with us, I think that would be a real big help as well. They're hard, Scott. They really are. And they're not going, they're just not out there. I went to Vanderbilt University. That was probably the biggest number I could find of special education teachers when I've looked. And a lot of them are going to private industry. They're not going to public schools. I'm still working on it. That's your answer. I'm still working.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. So this program, Superintendent Young, I believe aligns with a top 100 school district. I want to point that out, number one. I think what stands out to me today is that I think this is another version of us exemplifying being the best version of ourselves. So I'm really appreciative of that. So you went into detail about pipeline and recruitment effectiveness. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions.
Sure.
First one is, so we hired 179 employees. 91 came from recruited universities. For acute clarity, what factors made those university partnerships so successful, and how can we expand on with them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's what I'm working on that as well right now. I think being able to pick up the phone and call them when we need something and having that relationship with them, to me, is what I've been working on. I know that Lander University is a perfect example. I have worked really hard with them on, they have a nice number of special education teachers. Getting them here to do their internship is going to be our bread and butter. If we can get them here, I know we can keep them here, but it's just building that partnership up. These universities have a lot of online presence, and I think that's our key, right? If we can get with those online universities that are providing these special education degrees and have them do their internship with us, I think that would really help us.
Okay, and I won't ask any more questions, but I'll just leave it with this here. The Bodie family is very thankful that our daughter's in this district. Some people may not appreciate it, but we do. And I want to stress that to you. We don't take this for granted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to hear about Summer Space Camp from Amber Smith, otherwise known as Miss Frizzle.
Right. I did Miss Frizzle at 4K though, so there's photographic evidence out there. So. Yeah, Miss Frizzle lives, red hair and all. Well, hi, I'm Amber Smith. I am speaking on behalf of Space Camp, not because I am in charge or do all the things, but I get to be the spokesperson for the day. But so Space Camp ran this summer. Big red button, or big gray button. It was 14 days, ran through the month of June 8th through 30th, the very last day of the fiscal year, because we will always finish in one fiscal year, because it's a nightmare if we don't. So it was about 100 hours of instruction. We had about 240. I always say about, because on any given day, the average daily membership of Space Camp might change a little bit, because not everybody comes for all 14 days, but there were at least 240 over the span. And those were, at the time, kindergarten through fourth grade, so our current first grade through fifth grade students, and every elementary school was represented in that. And we had about 40 staff members, including teachers, administrators, and student support. Actually, let me back that up. And it covered 4 different areas. So Lunch and Learn, which we fund locally. Thank you guys for your generosity on that. Those are our students who, the first wave of students that we invite for Lunch and Learn are students who are receiving our weekend food backpacks. So they're the first wave, and then we can also use that to scoop up some other kids that might have instructional needs that we can serve in that way. SRC is the summer reading camp, state mandated summer reading camp. ESOL, we use our Title III funds to be able to provide supports for students with our lowest level of proficiency for language. And then Title I, this year we were able to bring in some students who were identified from the Title I schools to provide that. One thing that I love about Space Camp, and the reason we've gone to Space Camp as our model, is that much like space, it can expand or contract depending on the funding that we have available. So some years we have Title I, some years we don't. Some years summer reading camp's bigger, some years it's smaller, but it allows us to kind of keep the same model and then add and adjust along the way. So our leadership team is really who does the most important work. I do a lot of work on the front end, spreadsheets and annoying principals for months on end, trying to get lists of kids and getting all of that together. But when the real magic happens, it's in the building and it's with the folks that you see here. So Justin was our program administrator. He was able to join us tonight. And then our 3 other support folks, Jacob Johnson, Becky Bossert, and James Whitlock. Of those 4 folks, 3 of them have been with us for Space Camp and leadership roles for several years. Becky joined us for the first time to do summer reading camp as a leader, but she was a Space Camp teacher previously. So it's thinking a lot about the recruitment that we just heard about. This is exactly what I'm looking for in Space Camp as well. These are teachers that not only are there folks that can serve as classroom teachers during Space Camp, but I'm also looking at who might step into leadership roles because my leaders keep getting hired to do other leadership things, and I'm really proud of them for being assistant principals and all the things, but I keep losing my leaders because they're really good at their job. And so I'm excited to probably lose the folks that you see here in the next couple of years because they're probably going to get picked up for being really talented at their jobs. So it's a collaborative effort. I feel like this is one of those Oscar speeches where I'm definitely going to leave somebody out and somebody's going to feel slighted. So I promise, like, if the microphone drops from the floor as I'm trying to say it. But there are more folks than I can even name. But specifically, Orchard Park Elementary, they were invited to be the host for Space Camp this summer. Our previous host, Pleasant Knoll, was having some HVAC work done, and we felt like not having air conditioning in June might be have a dampening effect on our positivity. So Orchard Park welcomed us in, and we were really appreciative of that. They had a lot going on this summer, and we were just one more thing to add to the list, and they were an absolute dream and a delight to work with. Student nutrition, breakfast and lunch every day for 250 kids is amazing. Transportation, because we are from every elementary school, we had 12 buses that ran across the district to get folks to us. Special services, we coordinated efforts. ESY and Space Camp overlap for a little while, so we have to work together on that one, and then also to provide the students who are part of our program that also receive IEP or students with disabilities. All of those supports were connected. So we were really appreciative of their willingness to partner with us and help provide some instructional assistance to provide support for students so that they could get their needs met over the course of the summer. And again, that is not even an exhaustive list. I could go on and on and on, but from a Read to Succeed standpoint, that's the specific program I wanted to share some data on, since that is our legally obligated program. We had a new law for Read to Succeed. It was revised, not this most recent legislative session, but the time before. And as part of that reauthorization, there was a requirement to not just work with 3rd grade students, but the expectation is that we'll also work with 1st grade and 2nd grade students. And so there's a slow grandfathering of that in over time. So this summer we had 3rd grade, and the state said we had to pick up 1st grade. And then next summer we'll add our 2nd graders. So next summer Space Camp, the summer reading camp portion will include 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. So if you're like, why is there just 1st and 3rd? It's kind of an odd combo, but that's the way that the law was written. So we had 6 classes that were 1st graders, 50 students total, and we had 8 classes of 3rd graders for 47 students total. When we looked at pre and post tests, not everybody that started at camp with us ended at camp with us. Some folks are there for a little while, but don't always finish the program. So I am waiting on a few more scores. We can use their fall scores when they take STAR at the beginning of the school year. Not everybody's finished with that. I checked today. We got about half of our students that didn't take it over the summer, so they're coming in. But of the students that did take the final STAR score at the end of camp, 87% of those maintained or increased. And if every one of the kids that I have not yet tested was below, like dropped, we'd still be at 75%, which is pretty stinking amazing as far as I'm concerned. 14 days of instruction and kids went up or maintained is pretty powerful. When we look at why we have summer reading camp, one of the components is that third grade retention. And so we had 10 students that were part of Space Camp this summer that are most critical. They were our 10 kids that could potentially have to enjoy third grade again if they did not meet the criteria that was needed. So 9 of the 10 students hit their STAR score. Some of them like blew it out of the water within days of being there, which is pretty amazing. And some of them we were waiting until the very last day. And you can ask my folks on my district hall, like nobody gets more excited when a kid hits a STAR score. Like I'm screaming down the hallway, I'm so excited for them. We did have one student who did not meet the requirement, so participated in Space Camp but did not meet the assessment requirement, which is what we see on the next one. For that student, what we did is worked with their principal and did a detailed records review to see that student's history, to understand where they were, and that principal then recommended them for promotion, which Mr. Young then co-signed on. So that student went on to 4th grade, so no retainees this year. When we look at all of the students that we had to consider for good cause exemption, what we have to do is look at all of the students who score does not meet on SC Ready reading. So there's the entire ELA assessment, but there's a sub portion that's reading only. That's the part that we have to look at. And so when we look at that particular score, 69 third graders at the end of the school year, when they took that in the spring, did not, or scored it does not meet. And so most of those students had a good cause exemption, except for the 10 that we looked at before. That then eventually got there. So we had 3 students who were multilingual newcomers, meaning they've been in the U.S. for less than 2 years, so they get a good cause exemption. That's what GCE stands for. 48 students are students with a disability who specifically have a reading disability. 9 of the students, which we just saw, completed summer reading camp and then had a successful STAR score. 8 of the students had a STAR score prior to summer reading camp, meaning that they either had a spring STAR score that was high enough so they didn't have to attend. The other kiddos in good cause exemption 3, they had not yet achieved that high enough score, so they had to attend summer reading camp to get that score. So we had 8 students that did not have to attend. They already had the score. And then we didn't have any students that had intervention or retention previously. And then my favorite part of the whole thing is we get to see cute kids' faces. have any questions?
I just want to say, I got to be a mystery reader.
Yeah, I don't know if you made the slideshow.
That's okay.
Okay, we'll make sure you're in next time.
I did it not, for the fame. But I did get to enjoy reading a book about animal flatulence with some third graders. And
You know your audience well.
yes, yes, indeed. And it was amazing and warmed my heart. But I'm so excited to hear and see that crew that I was reading with are going to be fourth graders or are
Every
fourth
single one of
graders
them is sitting in a fourth grade
now.
class. Yep.
And that makes a difference to me. But I know their mamas and daddies. Makes a difference.
Agreed.
So your team, good job.
I want to add some context too. With the test scores, the 87% that saw a increase or stayed the same, typically over summer students fall back a little bit, especially in reading. So that is even more impressive in my eyes when we have 87% of our students increasing or maintaining, because typically they go down a little bit over the summer in reading.
Well, and it has a direct impact on our initiative of closing the achievement gap, which
Absolutely.
is,
Yeah.
Yep. We got kids there for lots of reasons, and they got all their needs met.
So I got some. My son went to space camp back when it was at Riverview.
Okay.
And it was a great experience. Super helpful. And I'll just on that note of such a high proficiency, I'm thinking, we've put a lot of how do we get there? Not that I love space camp, but how could we get there sooner? If I'm hearing in 14 days, we saw that much of an improvement, and we've put in positions of of a lot of we have a lot of positions that like specifically help kids with these roles, literally just for these things. Like, how can we utilize these interventionists, all the techniques we use during the school year, to where they wouldn't even really need to go, right? Like if we made this much improvement in 14 days, is there somewhere we could have gotten in front of that during the school year as well?
Sure.
And it's not a question that needs to be answered. I'm just kind of thinking out loud.
It just so happens my other job is intervention, so I can speak to that. I will say that when I look at other districts, the number of students that we have that are showing up in that does not meet category is pretty indicative of the work that gets done during the school year. We have a far fewer number of students who are in the does not meet category, and of those students to only have 10 that are at mandatory retention and to have none of those actually be mandatorily retained, I think speaks to the work that has been done over the course of the year. We get them in a pretty good spot. And I will say, if you could do 14 days of 6 hours of reading instruction, that is literally all the summer reading camp group does. The other groups have other things that are going on, but summer reading camp is 6 hours, and they go to the bathroom and they go to lunch and they go to recess and then they have 6 hours of reading. That is not feasible in 180 school days, nor would I think any of us want to go through 6 hours of 14 days. I don't think that that's the model we want to see, but I will say that by the time we get them, the number of students that we are experiencing in that program, and I will also say that the 69 students that were actually does not meet, we had more kids projected. So we are tracking kids. We have to use my little crystal ball, and each school has their own version of the crystal ball. We have to guess who might be on that list, because we have to start inviting for space camp and summer reading camp specifically in about March. But we don't take the test until May, and we don't actually get scores back until about the second or third week of May. So we don't really know who's on that list until almost 2 weeks before camp starts. So that list that we crystal ball gets smaller and smaller and smaller over time because of the work that happens during the school day with the folks that you've talked about. So the fact that we can get it down to 69 is pretty amazing. And it's actually a little smaller this year than it was last year. And my hope is that I get to stand up here and say the same thing next year. And eventually that group is getting smaller and smaller over time. I absolutely agree with you. And I think we are actually getting those outcomes. It's just really hard to compare it, because we still have kids that
That totally makes sense.
So,
That was
yeah.
a great response. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Let me add to that also. I think with our goal to increase our pre-K programs and having the center, that will directly impact our students that are struggling readers. As we expand that program, we should see a decrease in those numbers as well.
Yeah.
Well, and 69 kids out of 1,100.
Yes.
Yeah. There's about 1,000 at a grade level, at a third grade level.
And I'm only imagining a lot of these kids are coming they didn't start here right? Like they may have not started kindergarten with us. We may have just recently
Yes.
gotten them.
We have had experiences, and we say it a lot of times. We're like, man, if we could get all the kiddos that are ours, and we could have them for kindergarten, like when we have eyes on them, we can take action.
Yeah.
But when they come from other places, other schools, other states, that's what I love about public education is whoever shows up in our front door is who we take, and that's exactly what we do. But yeah, we don't have the benefit all the time of having students from pre-K forward or kindergarten forward. Sometimes we do, and sometimes we get some interesting stories, and we've got to figure out what the student has received over time to determine what's the next support for them. But yeah, that's very true. As we continue to grow as a district, we'll always have folks coming from other states, other districts, and I'm glad that we have a place that we can provide that support during the school year and then also that extra scoop at Space Camp.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Ms. Smith?
yes.
Great job.
Thank you.
again. What does success look like 3 years from now?
In Space Camp, I think I will always be looking for what group isn't being served and who can we scoop in. So when we have Title I funds, we're looking for that. For our ESOL numbers, so we're always looking to find ways to do that. So I think one is expanding that net. That's one piece of success. This is a very small percentage-wise program that has a huge impact. And then I think it's almost like you want to work yourself out of a job, right? In some ways that students continue to grow, we have fewer students, but what that maybe means is we're able to then work on more, instead of working on the lowest of the low grade level skills, that's where we can start to scoop up a little bit more so that we're able to, again, continue to close those opportunity gaps or achievement gaps depending on how we view them or what students might need. We're never going to have a situation where there are no students with need, so I just want to make sure that our program continues to adjust to meet the needs that we see present at the time.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, the only thing I'll add is, and I love seeing the smiles on their faces, right? So even though we know
You'd be
it's
hard pressed to find a
learning,
frown in that
right,
selection of
they're-
pictures.
It's
Yeah.
fun, it's camp too. It's not just remedial, and that's.
Yeah. It's funny, I'll get parents that call and they're like, so Space Camp, is that like code for summer school? And I was like, I mean, maybe. But I haven't had any kids that really ever are just absolutely miserable in the process. In most cases, if they're a little apprehensive after the first day, they're very, very happy. I think Mr. Tebow can probably vouch for that one as well. All right.
Excellent.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Me?
If you want to.
Yeah, I'm not on the agenda, but I do want to add a small report that came out today about our test scores. We had great news that came out today. We far exceeded state averages, but also outperformed about nearly every district in South Carolina. In SC Ready ELA and SC Ready Math, those are grades 3 through 8. Our district had the highest overall scores in the state in every grade level in language arts, and in grades 3, 4, 7, and 8 in math. SC Ready Science, only students in grades 4 and 6 take the SC Ready Science, and our district had the highest scores in both grades in the state. And then high school end of course testing, high school students take EOC exams in Algebra 1, Biology, English 2, and U.S. History. Our district had the highest scores in the state among traditional school districts in English 2, Biology, and U.S. History. So these are scores that really our entire community should be proud of, because obviously it takes all of us. It takes our administrators that do a wonderful job, our school board that helps support our staff, and then our teachers and staff that work tirelessly, and then our community, our parents that partner with us in the well-being of their kids. So congratulations to our entire community on that. Yeah. And then our high schools, I do want to say, U.S. World News and Report rankings came out, and our high schools finished 8th. Fort Mill High School was 8th, Nation Ford 12th, and Catawba Ridge was 18th in the state. I will tell you that many of the schools that finished above our schools are not traditional high schools. They are magnet schools or scholars academies, those types of things. There were some traditional high schools in there, but I don't want to take away from them. But our high schools performed very well. That's the top 5% of all schools in the state and top 10% of all schools in the country, which is about 18,000 high schools.
Well, and I don't remember the numbers, but when I saw some of that, you could also do a national ranking. And it was like, I don't know how many high schools there are in the nation, but they were all like in the top 1,000 of the high schools in the
Right,
nation.
yeah.
And I got to believe there's a lot of high schools out there. So
18,000 plus, I think, so.
We call that's one hell of a ROI.
That's right.
That's no exaggeration,
right.
so
A lot of hard work by a lot of
continued
people.
success.
Yep.
That's awesome. All right, we do have some action items. Some of these we've been talking about, so I'll bring Ms. Lordo up first.
Okay, good evening. Tonight I'm pleased to present for your consideration your first opportunity for a refunding of a current bond issue. I had shared with you previously that we would have several of these opportunities coming up over this fall and first quarter of next year. And this is the first opportunity. This is on our IPRB bond issue commitment. This is the installment purchase revenue bond. It was originally issued in 2006 for $63 million, and this built Sugar Creek Elementary, Pleasant Knoll Elementary, and an expansion of Nation Ford High School. This was in affiliation with a law that then no longer became allowable, but it was under, we formed the Fort Mill School Facilities Corporation. So under this particular law, we have had to issue and have you approve a resolution every year for these bond payments. But now we are at the point in this agreement and the term of these bonds that you could do a refunding and we could do one issue of $25,300,000. We have 5 principal payments remaining, but we would incorporate the remaining 5 into this issue. Then we would escrow the proceeds of this bond issue. It would earn interest. And we have, working with our bond financial advisor firm, they have projected out that this would save us approximately $382,000 in net present value. Plus, we save on not incurring the bond issuance cost for 5 additional issues. And that can range anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 in bond issuance cost. So adding those two together, we're projecting an estimated savings of $1,026,976. So our recommendation is approval of this refunding opportunity. We think the market's favorable right now. We would sell these bonds probably the first week of September is the plan. So I'm glad to answer any questions about this issue.
And it's not extending the length of the debt.
Absolutely not.
We're actually paying it off
Correct.
early.
No additional proceeds. We will not do anything else with any of these funds, but just set them aside for these future bond payments. And it's saving on the interest because we're going to earn interest on this.
Oh, and the issue.
And the issuance cost, yes.
Great.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration to provide for the issuance and sale of not exceeding $25,300,000 general obligation bonds of the Fort Mill School District Number 4 of York County, South Carolina, in one or more series to prescribe the purposes for which the proceeds of such obligations shall be expended, to provide for the payment thereof and other matters relating to. Thank you, Theo.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to provide for the issuance and sale not to exceed $25,300,000. Any discussion?
I'd like to just say, I appreciate you always staying on top of these things. I never want to take that for granted, that you're actually keeping your ear to where these things are tracking, and we're never caught. So just want to say thank you for staying right in line with these things.
Stay on top of every opportunity we
Yes.
can to save money.
I feel like my direction from you all has been if we can save $1 of
Please do.
taxpayer money,
100%.
to bring it to you for consideration. So
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Okay, before we get off the bonds, I do want to take this opportunity to share with you that when we went through the budget, the general operating budget process in the spring, I had shared that I felt like based on our current assessed values that we would also be able to lower our debt millage for the tax bills that go out in October. Since your last meeting, I have gone over to York County. I have met with the York County auditor. Mike Gallagher, who's our bond financial advisor, went with me also, and we went through all of our data with him and reviewed our current assessed values. And based on that meeting and then following up with our data, I am happy to say that he is going to set our debt millage at 82.3. Our current debt millage is 86. So we are going to be able to reduce our debt millage 3.7 mils. That will help offset what you approved for our operating millage increase for our budget for this year.
So that was actually greater than we were anticipating?
It was a little bit. Mhm. So it is 3.7 rollback for the bills that'll go out in October.
We were only thinking 1.5 or 2, right?
Yes,
Excellent.
yes.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that and share that with our taxpayers publicly as well, since we've confirmed that now.
Okay. And that will be also to the benefit of
Homeowners.
residents and homeowners because
Absolutely.
it does come off of other things.
Correct,
So,
correct. And so hopefully with any future bond refundings that I can bring you, we will continue to be able to lower our debt millage
that's awesome.
going forward.
Great cycle.
So, yes,
Awesome. All right, are you next too?
I am.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll move on to, at the previous board meeting, I had shared with you a request to have a second year-end transfer. And just to recap, this is where we're looking at where we fiscally ended our year-end on June 30th. We look at what we are projecting for our final total revenues and our final total expenditures. We are still in the process of completing all of our final reconciliations, looking at all of our final state allocations, federal allocations. We're still waiting on the county final tax reconciliation. So our numbers aren't final, but I looked at them again this week and I'm still comfortable making this recommendation to you. We try to keep our fund balance at 18 to 19% of what you have approved for next year's budget. The goal is to, it's interesting because I recently had a bond ratings call with Moody's Investors in New York for this issue that you just approved. And when they did our press release, one of the comments that they made was that they felt like we had good financial practices and that you provided strong management of our resources. And they said that our target should be 10 to 25%. But in order to meet our cash flow needs, I'm comfortable with us being in that 18 to 19% range, meaning we don't have to go out and borrow any funds during the year before our tax revenue comes in. So in looking at where I still think we finalized June 30th, you had already approved a little over $4 million for some one-time type projects that we moved. And this would be an additional $695,500. And we are still well within that 18 to 19% of fund balance range for meeting that threshold for what we've approved in the budget. But the items that I have asked, and most of that additional revenue comes from taxes coming in over budget. We had a positive tax year. Interest income coming in over budget, and then a little bit of state revenue. State revenue, we're seeing more level against what we actually budgeted because of the new funding formula. We're not seeing those increases because of growth, as you know. So this is mainly generated from tax revenue coming in and interest income coming in last year. But the 5 items that I had asked you to consider, the first one is directly related to the presentation that you heard tonight from Mrs. Romanek, and it is tied to teacher recruitment and retention. And as she shared and I shared previously, we found out in June that we were not going to receive any of the rural recruitment funding that we've been very fortunate to receive the last couple years. But she looked at, with Mr. Ollinger, looked at what pieces of that they thought were the highest priority to continue doing, and you heard all the things that she's doing tonight. So this would cover our recruitment efforts. This would cover continuing some critical needs teacher stipends this year that we have been funding. This would cover some of the alternative certification fees, and then a new intern program that she mentioned that she wants to really get going on this year. So the total of that's $258,000. Previously, we were getting around 350,000. So we aren't asking for complete replacement of those funds, but these were our highest priority items out of those funds and what we've been using. The second item was for continuing the outdoor air quality monitoring with the Citadel Environmental Services, and I'm going to come back and share a couple more comments on that. The third item is for our strategic planning initiatives. We account for all of that separate, but that includes so many district-wide programs, Teacher of the Year, Support Staff of the Year, enrollment projections that we do with Dr. Holden and we do with Catawba Regional Planning Council. It covers our district events, Cognia, covers professional development, and then our service years recognition program for those employees who've met service years with the district. So there's so many things that are covered with that, and we haven't put any additional funding into those things in a long time. But as we've grown, we have more staff, those things have just expanded. And then the last one was to help cover some of the increases in bus transportation costs for our high school athletics. It is very expensive when these buses are running, especially in the spring, because we have so many sports in the spring and so many events, that this is a very difficult area to budget until we see at the end of the year, and then we're almost playing catch up for the next year. But most of the time, these buses are rolling at night and on the weekends for these events, and these bus drivers are in an overtime situation because they have already worked full-time during their regular routes, and that's why the cost, it's more costly when we run these buses for all of these athletic events. So in looking at that for year-end, this would help cover some of the increases that we've seen with athletics, with running the buses. I'm going to go back to the outdoor air quality monitoring. We had shared with you at the last meeting that we had a follow-up meeting set with the Citadel representatives. We had that meeting, and we've had numerous discussions since then with them. We've also had internal discussions, and we feel like there's really three options with this. One, we could stay the course. We could continue to have the outdoor continuous monitoring equipment that is on site right now. We could do the continuous monitoring along with the quarterly sampling, just like we did this past year. And in total, this past year, we spent and we have paid them about $224,000. The second option is we do only the continuous monitoring outside. And that is where they actually have someone who reviews that data every day. And they will alert us if they see anything at a certain level that they need to make us aware of. So we could do only the outside continuous monitoring, and then we discussed with them if they see something and notify us, the district would then make the determination, do we want to bring them in at that point to do the inside sampling? Or the third option is we could not do the outside monitoring and we could just do the quarterly sampling, but we could also reduce the sampling from what they call a 24-hour sampling to an 8-hour sampling. And the reason that that's important is the quarterly monitoring was about, as I put on here, was about $57,000 to $60,000 a quarter. If we reduce the sampling to 8 hours, the cost would go down to about $37,000 a quarter. So and let me go back to option 2. If we only do the outside monitoring, continue that piece of the contract, that is going to be $115,000 for the year. So we have basically negotiated the cost down to the $115,000 for the outside and the $37,000 for the quarterly. Or we could still do both. That is certainly for the board to advise us, but tonight, my recommendation is that you go ahead and set these funds aside and put them in the contingency fund, and then we can continue to discuss with you, and we can, any questions you may have, we can get more answers to your questions from them. We could come back to you for finalization of any contract before we sign any contract with them, if that makes sense.
So essentially, we would vote to make this transfer, but that doesn't automatically sign our contract with them.
Correct.
Require us to do.
The
Correct.
negotiations continue.
I just want to pull those funds out of the general fund as of June 30th for audit purposes,
Gotcha.
and we will have them set aside and then continue and let you know and let you approve anything that we do in final.
Great.
The other piece that I do just want to mention, and Dr. Wasteness and Mr. Young can help me with this, we've had a recent curriculum request come up that I also see maybe if we don't use all of these funds out of contingency for the air quality monitoring contract, possibly using some of these funds for this request. And it is for the dual credit pathway program that we have with Winthrop. Curriculum has asked, because it's been so successful and we had so much requests for that this year through the application process, that they would like to go ahead and start plans this fall for a second cohort to start next year at Winthrop. And so in order for that to happen, the planning needs to start now with the applications, with involving the families and reviewing the applications, that we don't really want to wait until we go through the budget process in the spring to make that final decision. So we would like to possibly start working in that direction as well, to add another cohort of students that could start, that we know would start at Winthrop next fall.
Do we
Does
know
that make
what
sense?
Cost of that.
It's about 60 to 74,000.
Yeah, so if you remember, the Winthrop pathway has a cost to it because it doesn't qualify for the lottery funds, the TLAP funds. So the current kids that are there starting right now, it is 60,000 for the entire year for the cost. We would like to add another cohort next year, so that way our students that are rising juniors currently right now, our 10th graders, will have the opportunity to apply and get admitted to the program if they qualify. So the cost right now is 60,000 per year. There may be a slight increase from Winthrop going into next year, but we would hate to not be able to offer that to our current sophomores as they go into their junior year.
And they're paying a small fee, as well as the high school principals are helping us add their activity funds, their instructional fees. They're contributing a small amount as well. So we're somewhat piecing this together.
That cohort currently is only seniors.
Juniors.
Only juniors.
Juniors.
Yeah, so for the others, for USCL and York Tech, it's juniors and seniors because how the courses are set up, but for Winthrop, it's just seniors. I mean, sorry, just juniors.
juniors.
Yes. Sorry.
So then this is going to add juniors and seniors?
So then next year it would be like, if you think right now is cohort 1. So next year cohort 1 will be seniors and cohort 2 would be juniors next year. So then there would be like a junior cohort and a senior cohort.
It keeps
And then
rolling.
it would just keep rotating with new kids coming in each year.
And we will, I mean, our plan is to, in the spring, we would include this in the budget process because we need to get this built into recurring dollars.
For the following year.
For the following year.
So that'd be the ninth graders right now.
Correct.
Sorry, I'm
This
not
was
trying
just
to-
to see, we just wanted to try this out.
Yeah.
See how successful, see how much interest we had from families and students.
Okay, so just kind of playing this out. Say we go that route, and hopefully this place never even gets going, never starts doing anything. But let's say CellFab gets up. Where does that put those funds now? Because then we will be, we're obligated to make sure.
So I think right now, if we decide we'll keep the continuous monitoring going, if that's the direction that the board advises, but we wouldn't have incurred the first quarter because we're in the first quarter right now,
We haven't asked them to come in and
and
do
we
any
haven't
sampling.
asked them to come in and do anything.
In
nothing.
indoor sampling, right?
Correct.
But we are still literally live.
We're live.
With the outdoor continuous.
Yes, and we did ask them, and they shared with us, if you decided that you no longer want to do the continuous monitoring, they would come and remove the equipment. It would be $10,000 to come and remove the equipment, and then if we later on decided to put it back, it would be $10,000 to reinstall it.
Yep.
Because we did find out that they do lease the equipment.
Okay.
Got it.
But
I have a question before you make a motion. So I'm interested to know, I know Ms. Romanik's presentation tonight was in support of us in this transfer,
yes.
but I'm kind of having mixed emotions right now because we were sold, and she did a great job of marketing what an amazing impact this program is having on the district. But now the realization is she's going to have to do a 25% less money.
Right.
Right. And I think that's
Yes.
a problem, right? After we just heard that we're actually cutting something, we're actually cutting funding. And I know it's because we didn't get a grant,
Right.
but we're going to ask her to do all of that with 25% less funding. So I want the dual credit stuff to happen as well, but I'm a little concerned about the discrepancy between what she was using for recruiting
Right. Are we
and
short
where
sighted
she's going to be funded now, or where that program is going to be. So it kind of shined a light on the fact that this isn't enough money for what she's doing.
But did I
I mean, we can-
understand?
Sure. Do you want to help? Yeah, please. Here
Yeah,
was-
so I guess my question was,
Original list.
what is being cut? What
Yeah.
is the 70,000 that's being cut?
So I'll tell you, part of her role, is retention and recruitment.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at right now, our Title II plan was due 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I asked for an extension based on how you all decide with the end of your transfer. So what we're able to do with our Title II federal funding is we're going to pick up a lot of the retention piece out of that used to get spent out of the rural recruitment. So is it 100%? I'd have to go back and look. Probably not, but between what Darlene and I were talking about, Ms. Lordo, is we're able to pick up a huge chunk of the retention, which would be in our plan that I would submit this week on the retention part. For an example of that is we had tuition reimbursement for employees. We're going to move that into Title II. So even though that's not going to be paid out of what you potentially could vote for tonight in the transfer, we're going to pick up some of those other pieces in the Title II federal funding application. Would be our hope that that gets approved, and I feel that it will. So if that makes sense.
Go ahead, Scott, I'm sorry.
No, it makes sense. Is it
enough?
Is it enough is my concern.
I feel based, and I want to speak for Ms. Romanek or Ms. Lordo, but I feel like when we had these conversations, when we talked about with this possibility, like we were going to leave some things on the table, but when Ms. Lordo came with this option about an end-of-year transfer, we felt really good that we were going to be able to have the biggest pieces and be in good shape.
Okay.
Now, are we going to do every single thing in Title II that we did before? No, but I think that's okay.
So for acute clarity,
Yes.
we are not undermining the integrity of that program.
I do not think so, and again, I don't want to speak for Ms. Romanek, but I feel like when we sat around and met and started piecing this together with this idea, we felt really good with what we were going to be able to do. Now, when we first learned that rural recruitment was going away, we had concern. When Ms. Lordo came with this idea, I feel like we're going to be able to cover the big pieces, if that makes sense. A lot of the pieces.
Y'all know how much I love math. The the current numbers in here, the 240 for outdoor air quality, what I heard you, or for the air quality, what I heard you say is if we only did the outside, it's 115,
Correct,
which leaves 125.
correct.
And what I
So we
also,
could shift
I
some.
was say, what I also
yes.
thought I heard was we needed maybe a few $1,000s more for the recruiting and such, and we needed 60 to 70 more, which I'm guessing could probably fit within the 125.
Yeah.
If we
I think
only
we
did
could, if
outdoor.
we only do the outdoor, and incur the 115,000, then we could also, out of this allocation, pick up the dual credit pathway cohort 2, and we could put the difference towards
Additional
recruiting,
recruitment
which
things.
I think certainly Ms. Ronick would be very happy, because we thought we were going to be looking for 300 and something thousand to
Right.
start with. So,
And the reason I went there, besides the needs of the other things, is because, you know, in order to need to do something inside, we should have learned that we had an issue outside,
Right.
right?
Agreed.
We can always decide to still do something inside if something outside goes wrong, right? And we'll find the funds if and when that occurs. But it doesn't seem as critical to test inside once a quarter if we've been making sure that the air is good outside every single day, all day long.
and I think from our internal discussions, and Mr. Young, you can help me share this, but I think that was the administration's
Yes.
recommendation,
Yeah.
correct?
My recommendation would be like you just said, the daily monitoring. And then if we do have, if they contact us and say, hey, we're getting a high level here, then that's when we go and do the quarterly.
And/or if we learn that they're gonna start back
Correct.
manufacturing, we
Yes.
can always revisit the need for additional funds
That
to
as well.
start
Yep.
doing however frequent we need to inside.
Yep.
That'd be my thought.
So before I go to a motion, my question that I have with regard to this is, I worked on the SC teacher program for the last couple of years, so I kind of had a feeling we were going to end up getting the short side of rural recruiting funds from what I saw and worked with on that. Is it our plan for the coming budget year that that's going to be a part of what we're rolling in? And, you know, the transportation, I get that that's an
Yes.
after-the-fact thought. Kudos to all of our athletes who have made it to several rounds of playoffs, and that's all over the state.
Yes.
And we can future cast and cross our fingers and hope, or we can make an
Yes.
end-of-year transfer because our athletes were so
But
successful.
these items, outside of the air quality contract would be things that, we would bring to you in the recurring budget
Going forward.
next spring for the next year.
And were you asking about putting
Yes.
recruiting into the budget
Yes.
as well?
Budget for
Yeah.
next
Yes.
Whatever the increase is
Yes.
we need for
And
next year.
tell me if I'm wrong, Peter and Darlene, I want to say we don't find that out until, because I think
We found out
Darlene and I
in
met in
June.
May, and we were worried we weren't going to get it, and it was
Yes.
kind of doom and gloom, but,
Yes.
No, for sure.
yeah,
So we won't find out for another 3 years.
3 years, okay.
Oh,
So
3
But we
then-
know we don't have it next year.
We know we don't have it
Correct.
next year or the next two after that,
Right.
correct?
Yes.
But isn't that
good
similar to
indicator.
Amber, that like Darlene worked herself out of it because we qualified because our retention rate was high?
Yes.
Or-
Correct.
Our not
Retention.
retention
Mhm.
was not as high as we wanted, and now we're keeping our teachers.
Yes.
So we're
And
not
so
funded
we
for
don't
it.
get
Didn't
any
get it.
more money to keep our teachers
Correct.
with,
She
right?
did too good of a
Correct.
job.
Okay.
She
Yes.
did a too good of a job.
The more
to-
success
That's
you
a
have,
problem
Yes.
the
Fort
less
Mill
money
has.
you
We
get.
just so good at so many things that people get mad at us.
Right.
Well, and to what you were saying, Mr. Helms, yeah, the better you do, the more you get penalized in this game.
Crazy, isn't it?
That's wild.
And
I do have a quick, just procedure question. If we're gonna, are we limited to, with this transfer, are we limited to only these options? Or do we actually have to have the verbiage of these other things we're discussing?
No, it's.
Well, I was gonna say, if you would like to, in your, motion, to
Itemize.
include these other items, with those amounts, then that would be a little cleaner for us for audit purposes.
As
Do we need
opposed
the
to
amounts,
a
or do we
lump
just need the list?
I just think we need the items.
$695,500.
The items, yes.
You want the items.
But
I
not
would just
the
say that
dollars.
you are approving this list with modification of the,
To include.
to include these other two items and reduce the amount of the air quality monitoring contract allocation,
Yeah.
something like that.
It would be easier if we just had a
It would.
final number and it can be allocated between.
These items,
These 6 things.
that would be fine,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would prefer.
Because we
that
will have
do
it in the
with
minute, we will
number.
have your discussion in the minutes for this board meeting.
Because we
I
have
don't
that.
think you need, it's just 5 items, because,
And I
We're
don't
adding
think it's
two.
even that. It's
well,
a
one
motion
is still part
to,
of rural
Yes.
recruiting.
to approve a transfer in the
It's
amount of
just increasing the first amount.
$695,500 for an end-of-year transfer as presented.
Well, but you gotta add,
No.
But
you
it's
gotta
not as
add
presented.
What?
Winthrop,
Yes,
dual enrollment.
dual enrollment
So
pathways.
there's 4 items listed here, and the 5th one is Winthrop
Winthrop
dual
dual
enrollment.
It's the
That's all
Winthrop.
you have to say.
Okay, that's
Because if we don't
Not-
use
not
all the air
yet.
quality.
Yeah.
As presented, in addition, in adding.
With the
As
addition of.
presented and discussed.
Thank you. I think that
So
would be
we're
a
adding
little cleaner for
Winthrop?
me.
That's it.
Dual enrollment.
And then moving forward, these would be items we would see.
Yes,
the budget.
correct,
Yes.
Okay.
correct.
okay.
Dr. Wakesons, would this just be Winthrop?
Just Winthrop for the cost because there's no charge for USCL or York
Mhm.
Tech.
Thanks.
Yes,
Yeah, because that's covered by lottery funds through the state.
correct.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration for an end-of-year transfer in the amount of $695,500 for the items as presented and modification to include Winthrop dual credit enrollment.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the year-end transfer as presented, $695,500 for the items listed here as well as Winthrop dual credit program. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
That motion carries. All right, I believe that was the last of our financial items. Now we get to policy items.
Boy,
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I know you're likely incredibly sad that I don't have a long deck of slides for you this evening.
I'm very disappointed.
But hopefully I was a good teacher at our previous meeting, so I just want to hit some of the highlights. I'm bringing to you tonight policy JFAB, admission of non-resident students, as there is a deadline for all public traditional school districts to adopt an inter-district transfer policy in alignment with the law that passed in our previous legislative session, along with the State Department of Education's model guidelines. I want to just very quickly hit some highlights. As mentioned last time, capacity governs around this policy. We have no obligation to expand, hire additional staff, provide transportation, or build additional facilities, and that the 90% capacity rate applies at the grade, class, or program level when we look at accepting non-resident students. There is a proposed timeline that we covered in our last meeting, which would open this window on February 1st, and these transfers would take effect for the 27-28 school year. We also talked about continued enrollment provisions around being in good standing, students being in good standing as it relates to their attendance and discipline, as well as denial provisions related to a lack of capacity, level 3 discipline requirements, suspension greater than 5 days, and attendance. We did look at the fees. Ms. Lordo calculated sample fee if we were to implement this year, and it looks like that fee would be somewhere around $10,800. Is that correct? $10,800. So that would be the fee that would be charged to families who were accepted into the interdistrict program. Now, through the Education Scholarship Trust Fund, if they were to qualify, some of those fees would be offset. I believe that amount is $7,500. We do have an appeal process that's included in our policy that allows you to hear the written record or review the written record should a family want to appeal the denial of their application. We did talk about aligning our class rank policy to what we would place in our administrative rule regarding non-resident students who transfer in after ninth grade being eligible to be selected as valedictorian or salutatorian. And we also included that parents and guardians are responsible for reviewing high school league regulations on transfer eligibility impacts. We've already begun to do some of the pre-work related to this. We have a timeline. We're doing some internal work right now, prepping to kick off our own, some of our own practices related to employee registration of students who are resident students and non-resident employee registration, followed by our limited school lottery program that we would kick off, and then finally getting into the interdistrict transfer process. I am happy to answer any questions you have. I will say that there have been no changes since our last meeting.
The only comment that I'll make is I think that it's imperative on our end to have a checkbox acknowledgement or something of that nature where parents and high school league are concerned, because I feel that that would be the first largest obstacle that we would face.
Absolutely. We will keep that in mind for our application. We already have a draft application drafted, but we will go back and make sure that's included. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration for the updates to policy JFAB as presented.
Second.
Motion is second to accept the recommendation for updating policy JFAB. Any further discussion?
Just the only additional comment that I'll add is it is not policy that we as a board approve administrative rule. That's up to administration to create and handle.
I still disagree with the valedictorian and side.
I wanted to clarify. So where we landed on the recommendation is that if they're not here by ninth grade, then they could not.
Yeah, I do want to make the clear distinction. This is not for resident students. This is not for students whose parents choose to move from Pennsylvania and buy a home in Habersham to live in our district. Right. This is for folks who are choosing to leave their district in Rock Hill and live in Rock Hill, and they pay taxes in Rock Hill, and are choosing in the 11th grade to enter into our high schools.
I just wanted to clarify that.
For clarification, that was in the model policy
Yes,
from the state.
yes.
So I think that's a. Yeah.
I know you. I know you still don't like it.
I'm just trying to make you feel better.
I think we're penalizing children, right? If they can in 4 semesters here rise to the top, they should be able to qualify for this honor.
But our illustrious State Department and legislators don't believe that to be the case.
I know.
Duly noted.
Put it on the record.
Sorry, on the record.
Duly.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay, keep going. You're on a
Yes,
roll.
I have one additional item. I'm bringing forward to you second reading of our policy that will align with the bill that was passed in the legislature, which allows districts to excuse student absences up to 10 school days per academic year for career and technical education student-sponsored experiences, as well as participation in interscholastic or intramural athletic competitions, regardless of whether the governing body of those competitions is sanctioned by the South Carolina High School League, provided that the student remains in good standing. I do want to tell you, to operationalize this, our office has already begun work. Well, it is complete. I've sent it on to Dr. Wakesness for his review as well. A standard request for excused absence form to be used district-wide. Our hope is that this would create a level of consistency. Parents would submit documentation and student event information, and they would do a signed acknowledgement requesting for just those days that the student is involved in the said activity. It would be submitted at least 5 school days in advance, and that would give our administration an opportunity to review and confirm prior to the child's absence. I'm happy to answer any questions you have related to that as well.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration to update policy JH as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve policy JH changes. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right, I believe we've got one more item. Let's talk about the First Steps Board. Ms. Young.
Good evening, everyone. York County First Steps is the local partnership of South Carolina First Steps, established under state law to support school readiness and strengthen outcomes for young children and families through York County. The local partnership is governed by a board whose composition and appointment process are established by state statutory requirements. Under South Carolina law, each public school district board located within a local First Steps partnership coverage area is required to appoint one of its employees to serve as a member of the local board. Currently, Erin Owens, Family Engagement Leader for our district, is actively serving on the York County First Steps Board as our representative, and her participation is greatly valued. To ensure our partnership is fully compliant with state requirements, York County First Steps is working to ensure that existing board members are formally documented. Therefore, I respectfully request that the Board of Trustees formally appoint Erin Owens as the Fort Mill School District's representative to the York County First Steps Board. Once approved, this action will be documented in our official meeting minutes and confirmed with an official letter to First Steps in order to ensure their compliance with state office requirements and board records. Thank you for your time, and I'm available for any questions.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration to appoint Erin Owens to the employee of Fort Mill School District to the First Steps Board of York County as a member.
Second.
Motion and a second to appoint Erin Owens as a First Steps Board member. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion
Thank you.
carries. If I'm not mistaken, that brings us to the end of our scheduled agenda, other than we are in need of an executive session to discuss personnel recommendations and contractual matters.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
All right, we are in executive session. Thank you all for joining. All right. Motion to adjourn to,
Motion to return to public session.
we are back in public session. While in executive session, we discussed personnel, legal, and contractual matters. I do believe we have a couple motions to make.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration for 2 replacement certified positions.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for 2 replacement certified positions. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration to name Audrey Lewis, the Assistant Director at Oak Grove Academy, replacing Kristen Rhodes.
Second.
Motion is second, Audrey Lewis as the Assistant Director at Oak Grove Academy. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration to name Kelly Lewis, the Assistant Principal at Riverview Elementary, replacing Daniel Lewis.
Second.
Motion is second to name,
Kelly Lewis.
Kelly Lewis, Assistant Principal at Riverview. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to